Hey guys, Mark here, Tech Stack. Thanks for joining me. We have a session today. Should be a quick one. I think it's pretty important. We're starting the year. A lot of people kicking off New Year's, new numbers, new goals. This just makes sure that you are setting yourself up for a goal that you can hit. And quite often, what you see in selling organizations is everybody gets excited about a big brand new number, and the reality is they just don't have the sales velocity entering the year to come anywhere close. And if you miss the first quarter, it puts a lot of pressure on Q2, Q3, Q4, which are typically ramping quarters. And quite often with these long sales cycles in B2B, even if you were to go into the year with the right funnel, it takes a long time to get results, but worst case, you're walking into the year and you don't have the funnel you need, and you're just setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment. So we're going to talk about a number here called sales velocity. Ideally, you kind of calculate this stuff before you set yourself up for your start of your year. But I'm going to talk a little bit about how it works and what you can do to improve it. All right, so what is sales velocity? Very simply, it's the number of open opportunities that you have in the funnel, the average deal size. I'm going to use the average contract value here, but it's the deal size that's on the opportunity. And we can talk about that after. Like, what number are you throwing on the opportunity? Calculate times your win rate, all over how long your deals take to close, your sales cycle length. So number of open ops. That's just literally the number of opportunities that are currently in your funnel. Average contract value here. Ideally, you want to separate the total value from ARR and non-ARR revenues like services. Ideally, you're going to be using a booking target that is probably ARR based, not total revenue based, but maybe you're using a total revenue calculation. And then win rate. Win rate is basically the number of opportunities that you win, all divided by the number of opportunities that you win and lose in that same period. Okay. So it's not the number of opportunities you win over the number of open opportunities. It's the number of opportunities you win over win and lose deals. Okay. And then sales cycle length is in days. And that's the number of days between opportunities that were open. So the date they were open from the date they were closed. So it doesn't actually calculate open opportunity age, only the deals that closed. Okay, so here's an example of a sales velocity dashboard. This happens to be in our product tech stack. Basically, it's kind of spitting out a sales velocity number. Ideally, you'd be able to calculate sales velocity for new logo versus existing customer. Ideally, you can separate it by country, by rep, by product, by source. You can get a little bit deeper in your analysis, but I think at the very least, you want to be able to track your opportunities from what we call new customer deals versus existing customer deals, and then renewal deals. So always remove the renewal deals from these calculations, because usually with bookings, you want to have, it's usually an additive booking kind of conversation, not existing revenue. And then your sales velocity on existing customer deals is going to be completely different from new deals, right? So existing customer deals might be a little bit smaller, but they're usually shorter, right? They usually take less time to close. You're already contracted, you already know the devil you know, all that kind of stuff. New logo deals typically are longer deals, so you could choose to kind of intermingle, but you're not doing yourself any favors. If you had $1 million number, you typically go in figuring out if you're $1 million, 700 is coming from new logo and 300 is coming from existing customer. You usually have some sort of concept around how that number is going to get split out. Okay, let's take an example. Here's a company. It's got 20 ops that are open in the funnel. Average contract value is 40K. Here, and let's say that's ARR, right? So let's say my booking target is in ARR. We only want to measure contract value of the ARR revenue, right? So a lot of CRM systems aren't able to separate the ARR from non-ARR or total value, but ideally you'd be looking at ARR. What's your win rate? Right here, 20% on a 90-day close. Pretty typical stuff, right? So our sales velocity in this organization is $1,700. What that means is we're booking $1,700 of brand new ARR every single day, Saturdays and Sundays included. Okay, so that in concept is what sales velocity is. Now, what does it tell you? It tells you whether or not you're on pace to hit a number. So, for example, let's say our booking target is $1 million. If your booking target's $1 million for the year, that is, I want to book $1 million in brand new ARR. So let's say I'm a $5 million ARR company. And at the end of this year, I want to have a run rate of $6 million. I want to book $1 million in the next 12 months. I need to be booking $2,700 a day. So that's basically what this means. But in our example, we're not there, right? We're booking at $1,800 a day, $1,778 a day. So we're not going to hit our number. We're quite a ways, quite a distance from our number. So as a sales leader, what can you do to improve sales velocity? Almost always, you're going to focus on I would say the two most important metrics here is the opportunity creation metric and the win rate, but I would focus on win rate first. So here in this example, our win rate is 20%. That leaves lots of room for improvement. Moving from 20 to 25%, 20 to 30% is massive, right? But that's where I would focus first. Why is my win rate 20%? So that's the first thing I would focus on. The second thing is the number of opportunities. Could I get that 20 to 30? Could I find the opportunity creation pace to pick up slightly during the course of the year? Those are the two areas I would want to focus on first. The second variables that I would focus on, second set of variables I would focus on are average contract value. So, are you realistically, what's your price sensitivity in your market? Are you realistically going to move your average contract value from 40 to 60? Probably not through price increases. You would probably have to maybe shift segments, maybe go up market or something like that, or maybe go second product strategy. Those are like longer moves, right? You're not necessarily going to have any success moving that needle in any given year, right? There's a lot of coordination that has to happen there to move up market or to increase pricing, because most of us are dealing with price sensitivity, right? There's a lot of price elasticity in software products. The second thing in that second group is sales cycle length. Can I move that 90 to 60? Probably not in B2B. Could I move it from 90 to 80, 90 to 70? Probably. A lot of that would come in removing friction from pricing conversations and contracting. Becoming the easiest vendor to work with on the planet could probably save you a few days on average, but even 90 is pretty short. A lot of companies, especially if you're selling up market, it's probably 180, right? Because the vendor due diligence and the legal on doing business with a large enterprise could easily consume 90 days on its own after you get the nod from the business buyer. So probably you're going to want to focus on number of ops and the win rate, and that would move your sales velocity very, very quickly. So how do you move the win rate? There's probably 4 things you can do and make an immediate impact as a sales leader. Probably the first thing is focus. By looking at the segments, the market segments where you have the highest win rate, you double down on them. So, for example, if there's a certain industry that you have a 10% win rate on and another industry that you have a 30% win rate on, you shift your efforts to the higher win rate industry. As an easy example. So I think, it could be for country as well. It could be product lines. There's so many ways to focus your energies. And then that focus will immediately impact your win rate. Okay. almost always we have far more market opportunity than we have the ability to get to. So focus becomes a key element of that. The second thing is probably sales channels. I've seen it in my past where certain types of inbound, like paid inbound opportunities, have a very, very low win rate, where on the extreme, referral opportunities have a very, very high win rate. You shift as much of your energies as you can to the channel that's driving a higher win rate. And so that seems pretty obvious, but a lot of companies don't do it. They keep pouring money into channels that have a very, very low win rate. And you're just wasting money. That's a whole other conversation around sales magic number and sales efficiency. But here we're talking about velocity and focus the channel effort. Third, almost always sales execution. Almost always, if you've got 3 reps or 4 reps, there's always one that has a really, really high win rate, and then the others do not. All right. And then so the others are dragging down the high win rate seller. So the reason why that is almost always sales execution. Okay. So whatever that high win rate seller is doing, you need to embody that behavior into your lower win rate sellers. And it's pretty obvious that a good seller knows how to move deals through the funnel. And it could be, there's so many moments in a sales cycle that make a difference in terms of how pricing's packaged, how value is translated, how the demo and pre-demo steps go, how discovery goes. Discovery is probably the most important step. How wide do they go on an account? Are you single threading the account? Are you going across all the decision makers? For the decision makers that you don't have the vote or they don't want you, are you isolating or minimizing their influence, or are you trying to sell your value to them to flip that vote? Good sellers do all those things. Bad sellers don't do any of it. Bad sellers will single thread a deal, focus on a low influence buyer in the group. Won't try to get to the ultimate decision makers. They won't do a good job with pre and post demo preparation and follow up. Really, do a poor job in trying to deliver pricing. Are they emailing pricing? Or are they presenting it? Stuff like that. You'll realize very quickly that you could probably improve win rate simply by getting more consistent with sales execution. And probably the last thing, I think, especially in 2025, this is meritocracy. Okay, you need to send, regardless of territory, it doesn't matter. You send your best deals to your best rep. Okay, always. If anybody complains, they can get another job, or you can explain to them that, hey, Sally has a 50% win rate on deals in this segment. Sally's getting this lead. And when you can demonstrate a 50% win rate, you'll get that lead. All this kind of round robin or segment-based sales territory stuff, almost always there's no benefit to it other than trying to organize a flow of leads. The buyers don't care. So send the best stuff to your best reps, and you'll see an immediate improvement on your results. So here are some dashboards that pop out of our system, but all I want to describe here is when you're analyzing, some of this kind of, deal motion stuff, you want to be able to look at your sales cycle length and your average deal sizes by industry, but also by region, by source, and by, in some cases, maybe not in this case, you might also want to look at stuff by rep. And same with win rate. You want to be able to look at the win rate by all those same variables, and probably want to include product in there as well. Okay. So we talked a little bit about increasing win rate. The other thing that was really important is increase the number of opportunities. How do you do that? How do you do that without spending more money? It is possible. I would say in most selling organizations, they have way more capacity than they need, and in marketing and sales, and it's just a matter of increasing that productivity. In some cases, I wouldn't hesitate to say that you can double your productivity with your existing investment in sales and marketing. It's not an exaggeration. Probably the first thing I would look at is seller activity. Are the sellers doing enough? Probably not. Most sellers, if you're not focused on closing deals, you should be focusing on finding deals. So many sellers stick in the middle. Basically, what they're doing is working deals that are in the funnel and trying to get them further along. They can spend their entire day talking to on a weekly basis, their prospect that is basically already a prospect. How do you increase seller activity? I would say a few things you can do. Probably number one is gamification. So, everybody's rewarded to close deals, but to get the activity up, you kind of need to show the correlation. And sometimes the deals are too long to show that like doubling your activity is going to double your results, because it could take 6 months. But you could gamify, stick a big board in the office, gamify email, gamify cold calling, gamify partner referral deals, and throw little nuggets at them every week. Movie tickets, dinner tickets, whatever. Sellers don't care about any of that stuff. They want to win. Your sellers that are good sellers always want to be winners. And so gamification is a great way to do it. Okay. And it could be a stupid little trophy that people get, whatever. Just gamify the heck out of it. Gamify everything. To do that, you probably want to get into weekly measurement, not monthly measurements. So this is where it doesn't even need to be a meeting, but just do weekly measurement of activity. And you could even do red team, blue team type stuff. Create that kind of, it'll rile up the team. They'll get really excited about this stuff. Little internal competition is a lot of fun. Okay. Second thing is marketing activity. Almost always marketing is not doing enough. Okay. Or they're doing stuff that isn't moving the funnel. They're doing brand kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that's not important, but I think in today's age, we need all to become more ruthless, and marketing can't hide behind brand marketing activity. Okay. They need to be aligned to in B2B, they need to be aligned to opportunity creation, not MQL, not visits, not whatever. Opportunity creation. They need to be paid on opportunity creation. Okay. So there's a lot of things marketing can do to get up in terms of their activity. What I would almost recommend doing is creating units of production. So instead of having like sales and then having marketing, I would actually create teams with one seller and one marketer. And if you have that luxury of having multiple team members, having them focus on specific segments, either product mix or other market segment, industry, or whatever, and then have that combination of seller marketer become a team. And what I think you'll find really quickly is how marketing will basically align to the sellers. And I'll throw up a slide of some of the stuff marketing can be doing, but almost always you can do double to triple the activity that they're doing today without incremental cost. Third area, seller follow-up. Everything I've seen is horrible. Sellers take way too long to follow up on deals. Your SLA on a web inquiry should be, I think, 10 minutes, not 24 hours, not 48 hours, 10 minutes. Because there's a cognitive bias that sets in with the buyer when a vendor responds first. Very quickly, if anybody's ever been a buyer of software, you forget how quickly, or let me say it another way, you forget the vendors you've tried to engage with very quickly. You forget them immediately. and you're almost always buying things emotionally. And probably one of the most important cognitive biases is first bias. So basically, first impression bias. And so it costs nothing to follow up on stuff within 5 minutes. When people fill out a web form, just bury them in gracious communication. Like, hey, thanks for being part of our tribe. We're going to get, onto you right away. In the meantime, here's a great video of a customer case study, blah, blah, blah. You can automate that follow-up from marketing on every web inquiry, and then have the seller make sure they follow up within, honestly, I wouldn't do more than 10 minutes. And if your sellers are too busy, then find somebody in the company that is not busy, but that should be your standard process. I would say sub 10-minute follow-up. I would say 5-minute follow-up if you can do it. Another thing is reprospecting lost deals. So many times sellers lose a deal, seller moves on. Maybe the seller's still there, but maybe they feel shy, or the loss still hurts. And 6 months later, they don't follow up. Hey, how's it going with this vendor? Did it work out? In a year, did you guys renew? Like, what are you guys looking at? More often than not, they never made a decision. If they went with the other vendor, there's a potential that there's some remorse with that decision, or it didn't work out. But more often than not, deals are lost to no decision. Probably 70% of them are lost to no decision, and it's usually a budget thing or whatever. And I would get back on it. I think it was Marc DiGiorgio. I've seen him say the words. I've never seen it in writing, but his whole thing was, your deal that enters the funnel the first time, your win rate's 20-25%. If it comes back the second time, your win rate's closer to 50%. If it comes back a third time, your win rate's closer to 75%. And that is absolutely true. So just keep reworking those lost deals. Make sure you're in front of them every 6 months. When you have a lost deal, make sure marketing sticks them in a lost deal nurture, because these are educated buyers, so you don't need to give them the normal stuff. Give them like the customer communication level stuff. Hey, we're really proud of this new feature, or hey, we're excited about onboarding these new customers, but whatever. Give them a richer set of information, because they're already well qualified buyers. But make sure you communicate with them, because buyers will very quickly forget about vendors, especially if there's any moves within the organization. And then the last thing, very easily, just focus on channels that generate low cost, highest volume leads. Okay, just don't the stuff that doesn't work. Just focus on stuff that does work. And that seems pretty basic. So here's a little chart. I mean, this thing's been floating around LinkedIn. This is our version of it. Basically, top to bottom, this is the really expensive marketing tactics. These are the really cheap marketing tactics. This is the long game, so it takes a long time to generate results. This is the quick win stuff. These are all the cheap and cheerful, no cost things that marketing and sales could be doing on a daily basis. This stuff's the ad stuff, the spend stuff. Okay. If you can afford it, do it. There's some stuff that works better than others. A Google search may work for you, may not. LinkedIn targeted display ads may work, may not. Retargeting probably works. Maybe the meta stuff works for you. If you can experiment with ads, you probably need to do it for 6 months to a year. You don't want to just do it for a month. There's no point. But this is all the ad stuff. This is all the long game stuff, community building, events. Events are back, right? Everybody loves going to events. They're a great opportunity to get in front of buyers. Sponsorships, maybe your own events. SEO is probably up there. SEO is not. It used to be an easy thing. Now it's really hard, and it takes a long-term investment and costs a lot of money. But this is all the cheap and cheerful stuff. Inevitably, there's more you can do with cheap and cheerful. Every team has more they can do with cheap and cheerful. Okay, so what can happen if I can just move those two numbers? So in the first example that we had here, we had an organization with 20 open opportunities, average contract value of 40, win rate 20, sales cycle length of 90. Their sales velocity was $1,700. Simply by moving the number from 20 open ops to 30 and improving our win rate, to 28%. Like, that's not a small leap. That is a big leap, but a doable leap. There's no reason why you can't go from a fifth of your deals won to closer to a third of your deals won, or just over a quarter. It's not a huge leap. That can double your sales velocity. So in this example, simply by doing those two things, this organization is going to exceed their $1 million target, right? Because the $2,700 sales velocity, now we're going to be at $3,700. You're going to be in that $1.4 million range from the current whatever it was, 700 or whatever it was for the year. And say all on the same cost base. Here, we're not saying we're increasing costs at all. You probably have more than enough team, more than enough spend to do it just by improving the win rate and the number of opportunities. So a few things to watch out for. Calculating sales velocity, you need to have a lot of trust in your numbers. I would say the majority of the CRM implementations I've seen, I would not trust anything coming out of them, but kind of get your house in order. Number one, I would make sure that on an opportunity, you're tracking ARR separately than the total value of the deal. And why? Well, you may have a $50,000 ARR number that the rep is presenting as $1 million deal. And why is that? Well, let's say it's a 5-year times 50 is 250, $750,000 in services. The needle you're looking to move is ARR, and it's a $50,000 number on that $1 million total value number. So you want to separate that stuff. That's an extreme example, but you want to separate that out. The second thing I'd say is lacking in a lot of organizations is the consistency in sales process. When opportunities are created, you see the extremes. You see one extreme where a seller will flag plant an account by creating an opportunity, and that opportunity doesn't move for 360 days. Get that garbage out of the system. The other extreme is where the seller will only create the opportunity when they're about to win the deal. Again, you got to cut that behavior. In the one example, you're going to inflate your sales velocity because of the number of opportunities. Even though the sales cycle length is a huge determinant of sales velocity, sales cycle length is only calculated when you win or lose deals. So if you have 1,000 opportunities open that never close, you're not affecting win rate or the sales cycle length, because they only get calculated when you close, lost, or won deals. So that's going to inflate your sales velocity number. That's a problem. The second example is also going to inflate your sales velocity because your win rate is going to be 100%. And your sales cycle length is going to be a day. So if you're a seller that's creating an op and closing it the next day, you're going to only create the op when you're going to win it, and you're going to have a really, really short sales cycle length. So that is going to create another extreme as well. So you need to have consistency in sales opportunity creation. For me, anytime the organization invests resources into a sales opportunity, then opportunity needs to be created. You're doing a demo, opportunity needs to be created. Providing a quote, opportunity needs to be created. Anytime a customer asks you something, or asks something of you, I should say, you got to create an opportunity. Now, and how do you close one lost? Close one's pretty straightforward. They give you a contract or signature on something. Closed lost, a lot of sellers don't want to close lost deals. This is where the kind of diligence in sales cycle management comes. I would say that if a deal has no activity after X number of days, I would probably say 60 days. There's been no communication with the buyer in the last 30 to 60 days. You got to close it lost. Got to get rid of it. That would be a lens that I put on deals. Third thing, make sure you do in your CRM is separate new logo from existing customer deals, and with existing customers, make sure you exclude renewal. So if you're not tracking renewals with opportunities, I would strongly recommend you do, but make sure you don't include renewal in your sales velocity. And then I would, ideally, be able to identify new logo and existing customer. Now, Tech Stack, our CRM does all this stuff, But if you're not using our stuff, then you're going to want to kind of build some of this framework into how you're looking at data. All right. I think that's it. If there's any questions on sales velocity, please get in touch. And I hope there's some value in this little webinar. Take care.